Things have taken a major turn for the Boston Bruins as GM Don Sweeney is set to make a visit to a specific game with a specific team who are currently looking for a trade. We're going to be breaking down all of that report as well as going over tonight's game as the Bruins have a major opportunity to show the rest of the NHL who they really are. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one favor, and that's if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Boston Bruins every single day. You will not want to miss it. We have a lot of stuff coming while this season is off to a phenomenal start. And let's jump straight into it. I first wanted to pull up the quote here, or the tweet from Rachel Hopmeyer talking about Don Sweeney is currently in attendance for the Panthers and Red Wings game. And this is a very interesting kind of mindset that we saw in last night. After the visit that he had to this team, there's been multiple reports coming out from one of these teams in specific about what they're trying to do in the trade market. And many of these coming from NHL Room Report here. David Pastrnak coming from him courtesy of NHL Room Report. The Red Wings have Erik Gustafsson and Travis Hamonic are a couple of veteran pieces. Doesn't look like there's much room for some of these guys, so I think they've started to explore moving them. Now, this comes from the Daily Faceoff Rundown, but this is not it. It continues on here as well with this one. This team has been looking for offense. That is a team that's been looking for a center position as well, but there's some talk that the Red Wings are looking at and open to moving some of their defensemen. Now, when it comes down to it, we've known the Bruins have these centers that many teams are talking about, mainly Casey Mittelstadt and Pavel Zacha. A lot of the conversation did ultimately come down to, will this be an offseason move? Will this be something that happens near the American Thanksgiving, coming into a little bit before December? Will this be something that's happening near the trade deadline? But there's been so much conversation surrounding the centers that there's no surprise that the Boston Bruins are currently actively scouting teams that are in the need for a center. And when it comes down to it, and I feel like going back into this first one, when you're looking at Travis Hamonic and Erik Gustafsson, these two are not at all what this team is looking for. But one thing that comes to mind for me is how young this Detroit Red Wings team is and how many young defensemen they do have. And this is something that would be a much different situation if it were a scout looking at this game, but it was Don Sweeney himself at this game between the Red Wings and Panthers last night. So there is certainly something in my mind telling me that this conversation has progressed a little bit, and Don Sweeney himself is looking at how something would play out, someone that would fit his game, someone that would fit his team, especially on the younger side. Now, we know the defense for this team is quite locked up, being a big reason as to why that this team wouldn't be looking for a guy like Erik Gustafsson nor Travis Hamonic. But when it comes down to how young this team is, not just on the defense, but on the offense as well, leads me to a question if Don Sweeney's looking to add to this team with some younger pieces. Now, going into not just this game or not just this team as a one specific thing, but going and looking at how this defense right now is structured with Ryan McAvoy, Zadorov, Jokiharju, Jordan Harris, Andrew Peeke. Of course, Jordan Harris would be replaced by Elias Lindholm. That's a very solid set of defensive players, and not overly on the older side either. Really, the oldest one being Elias Lindholm, followed by Zadorov. They're the only ones above the age of 27. So you're looking at this team, having McAvoy and a bunch of these guys being in the NHL for so long, or the Bruins in turn. It's kind of crazy how young these guys actually are when you look at their actual age rather than just kind of seeing them on ice and how many years they've been here. So that's a big point to why no defenseman. But on the offensive side of things is where a lot of conversation is sparked for me, at least on this idea of the Bruins looking to get maybe a guy, not in, specifically, but a Marco Kasper style player. Of course, he wouldn't be in an option for this Red Wings team. They're utilizing him well. But going on that style of player that may have been coming in late, maybe someone highly touted that is just kind of overshadowed by a lot of these other younger players here in Detroit. We know the Yzer plan has not gone very well, so Don Sweeney is looking here as something that he can kind of scheme up to make this move work. And as the lines have kind of come together over the past couple of games, and we've been really seeing the same thing, the top lines of, Elias Lindholm's not going anywhere. I'm not going to read the lines out. But Casey Mittelstadt, Pavel Zacha, those are the two that are really in question, for my opinion. We know how many young players that this Bruins team does have. Not just in the NHL already, but a lot in the AHL as well. Matt Poitras got sent down. There's a lot of questions surrounding his status where he is down to the AHL once again, but he still is super young, so there's still a lot of time for him to get that development underway, and that's why they got Marco Sturm as a head coach. But you go down them Fraser Mitten, Sean Kuraly as your other centers. This team has quite a few players that have the ability to move around the lineup, play center, either wing, wherever you really want to. So if I'm a team like the Detroit Red Wings looking for a center, the Bruins would be a team I would be going to look at and, try and spark a conversation to see what they're willing to move, who they're willing to move, and what moves can be made on this team as a whole. So that's something I want to get your guys' opinion on in the comments below, especially where you're seeing Don Sweeney there rather than a scout. The conversation surrounding the Detroit Red Wings and their trade market has kind of boomed over the past couple days and even weeks since before this season started. And now looking at it as a team that's so young, it's kind of surprising that they're seeing to try and get another center after they've already acquired and have quite a few of their own in-house kind of developed centers and also, forwards as a whole. So let me know what you think and who you would like to see come from the Detroit Red Wings here in a potential trade. And of course, a lot of early stuff going on here, but it's an interesting thing to take a look at, being only in, Game 5 coming up for tonight for the Boston Bruins. But speaking of Game 5, we have a few updates regarding this game against the Vegas Golden Knights. And first of all, I want to pull up the potential starters. Aiden Hill is hurt, so Akira Schmid is expected to be the starter. Of course, they just signed moments ago Carter Hart to a PTO, who eventually will become a goalie for this team with a signing. But Akira Schmid has been an interesting goalie who has been a bit of a kind of hit or miss, and a very, very big hit or miss, whether that is going to be a relief appearance, whether that is going to be a start, drastically different stats. But Jeremy Swayman coming up against, I think this is going to be a big opportunity to really see how the Bruins offense can kind of come into their own here and see how they can bring in a big win against a team like the Vegas Golden Knights, who are still a very good team. I hate to say it, but they're a team that has been very, very deep. So coming up against this, a younger team in the Bruins, if they can come out here, put a lot of pressure on their goaltending and defense, put the score up, and we see Jeremy Swayman come into this game and really lock things down. I like the shape that we're in going into this game. And looking at the Golden Knights this season so far, they've not necessarily been great. Lost to LA, a loss to Seattle, a win against San Jose in OT, and a Calgary win in their most recent game. First win there in regulation. So I think it's something that this team is not off to a hot start. It's going to be a big opportunity for the Bruins to jump on and kind of get all the haters to really have their doubts that this Bruin team is just getting lucky in the first, because this team has shown that they're able to go. We saw what they did against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We saw how, good they did make a comeback here, and what a slow start does to this team. But it's very positive signs coming out of every single game here. So I'm curious to see what things are looking like here in this game. It's going to be a big one very, very late tonight. But we're going to have a video, not after the game, but, tomorrow, unless there are any other updates that are in need of a video here today. So that's all I got in this video. Let me know what you think about this kind of updates regarding Don Sweeney. What do you think is up with him and the Red Wings and Steve Yzerman, and also the game tonight? But that is all I have in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.